That's what's happening here in Daniel. Edom, as I'm going to show you, is going to be destroyed. And the Edomites are not who people think they are. And this is another thing I wanted to bring out. We, as Bible students, sometimes tend to think that everybody in what I call a monolith. Like, for example, there are Israelites that teach all Caucasians are going to be lost and all Israelites are going to be saved. That is not true. All Edom is not going to be lost, and all Edom is certainly not going to be saved. The same with Moab and Ammon. They're not a monolith. You have to understand how the bloodline is spread around. Okay, and we're going to go over that in a few minutes. But in this particular case, the reason these three are escaping, for example, the nation of Jordan, and you can look this up for yourself, the nation of Jordan is one of the few countries that recognize the Israeli state as a legitimate nation. In other words, most of the countries in what's the so-called Middle East don't recognize that state as a legitimate nation. Okay, so Edom and so Moab and Ammon are the nation of Jordan, and Jordan, the government of Jordan, officially recognizes the state of Israel. Now, most Israelites understand that the state of Israel, the people that are there right now, are not the true Israelites. They're actually Edomites. And I'll show you that from the scriptures. But not all Edom is there. Just like the Bible says, not all Israel is of Israel. But he says in Ezekiel chapter 20, I'm going to purge the rebels from among you. So not everybody that's of the bloodline of Abraham is going to be saved. And you can see that. You know what we call those type of people today? We call them what? Sellouts. And there's a lot of sellouts. Mostly, they're famous and rich, the sellouts. Why? Because they get paid to sell out. You understand? So not all bloodline is going to be saved, and not all Edom is going to be lost. Not all Ammon is going to be lost. But in this particular case, the reason they're escaping is because they're on the side of the king of the north. The Edomites that's in Israel now, the state of Israel, that's set up by the UN. UN is controlled by Rome. Their leaders have already kissed the ring of the Pope. The Pope has already set up a palace in Jerusalem. It's already there. And Jordan has already officially recognized the state of Israel. Now, there are people in Jordan, citizens, generally the poor, that don't recognize the state of Israel. But as a nation, officially, the kingdom of Jordan recognizes the state of Israel as a legitimate country. So what we're dealing with here are people who are enemies of the Creator. They're on the side of Asatan. That's why it says they escape. So the people that are trying to bust themselves to get into Jordan, you're moving into a very dangerous area. A very dangerous situation. And it could cost you dearly. Okay? We'll come back to that. But I want to show you a couple of other things. First off, there's a lot of scriptures that show us that the Israelite people of the last days are scattered throughout the earth. I think many Israelite people today, the Hebrews that are waking up to this truth, that are being awakened right now, understand we're a scattered people. Right? Let's just look at a couple of scriptures and just, we'll verify that with some witnesses. Okay. Let's go to Deuteronomy. We're going to come back and forth in Deuteronomy, but Deuteronomy chapter, here's the easy one. Deuteronomy chapter 32. Deuteronomy chapter 32, and this is a prophecy from Moses about us in the last days. Okay, notice what it says here. I'm going to start at verse 20, and I'm going to go from verse 20 down to verse 26. Deuteronomy chapter 32 from verse 20 to verse 26. Notice what it said. And he said, I will hide my face from them and I will see what their end shall be, for they are a very froward generation, children in whom is no faith. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities, and I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. For a fire is kindled in my anger, and shall burn unto the lowest hell, and shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. I will heap mischiefs upon them. I will spend mine arrows upon them. They shall be burnt with hunger and devoured with burning heat and with bitter destruction. I will also send teeth of beasts upon them, with poison of serpents of the dust. The sword without, the terror within, shall destroy both the young man and the virgin, the suckling also with the man of gray hairs. I said, I would scatter them into the corners. I will make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. So we can see here, he promised to scatter us, and he's going to provoke us to jealousy with the people that are not a people. That is the sons of Japhet, Gog and Magog. That's what he's done. Provoke us to jealousy also by the Ashkenazis, which are trying to take our identity. See, that's already happened. It's already happening. Scattered us. Okay, let me give you another witness that's very important in terms of this scattering. Okay, let's start again. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 11. Isaiah chapter 11. And as you know, there's many scriptures that talk about this. In fact, I'm going to bring up 4 witnesses just because we have so many here. Okay, I'm going to start in chapter 11. I'm going to go from verse 11. Chapter 11, verse 11. I'm going to go down to verse 14 since it mentions Edom and Moab and Ammon in verse 11. So let's take a look at this. And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahweh shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left. So the first time that he recovered his people was when he brought them out of Egypt, correct? So when he brought us out of Egypt, he was recovering his people. Okay. He said, I'm going to do it a second time. Okay. This time, first time he brought him out of Egypt. We're going to see that in our next witness. That's what it says the second time. He said, he's going to set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of people which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Ammon and from the islands of the sea. So in other words, this time he's scattered, his people are scattered, and he's going to recover them. Okay, so they're in a scattered state and he's recovered them. Messiah said in Luke chapter 21 that we shall be taken captive into all nations. Messiah said that in Luke chapter 21. Okay, so we are being scattered from the land all over the earth. And when we're recovered from our scattered state. All right, I told you I was going to read down to verse 14, so let's keep reading. And he shall set up an ensign for the nation and shall assemble, watch, the outcasts of Israel and gather together the dispersed of Judah from what? The 4 corners of the earth. So he named these African places. But see, when we first left the land, we went into what's now called Africa. That's not the original name. It was Cush. But we went there. And then from there, he says here, from the 4 corners of the earth. And we can bear witness. That's the state we're in right now. The Israelite people are scattered in the 4 corners of the earth. We're in Haiti. We're in China. We're in Australia. We're in the Philippines. We're in the United States. We're in South American nations, Central American nations, Mexico, the islands, right? Haiti, Jamaica, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Trinidad. We're in all those places, scattered throughout the earth. We're in India, scattered throughout the earth to the 4 corners. That's where we are right now. All right? He said, I'm going to gather together from 4, and envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim, but they shall fly upon the shoulders of the Philistines toward the west. and they shall spoil them of the east together. They shall lay their hands upon Edom and Moab, and the children of Ammon shall obey them. So you can't you can't be an enemy of the Pope and a friend of Yah at the same time. So it's telling you there's going to be a remnant, which I'll show you, of Edom that'll belong to Yah. But then there's going to be Edomites that are completely annihilated. And I'm getting ready to show you the ones that are annihilated are the ones that are on our land. And the nations that are on our land and also assisting them, which include Moab and Ammon. They're going to be annihilated in a violent manner. And we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. Okay? Now, third witness. This one's an important witness with regard to us being scattered and us being gathered together. Jeremiah chapter 23. Jeremiah chapter 23. This is one of the reasons I'm really wanting to study this next. And I might have to go into Jeremiah next. There's a lot here. But Jeremiah chapter 23, which is, again, this is the prophecy of the Messiah as the king of the earth. When the kingdom is established, it's showing us what it's going to be like, and it's showing us how it got there. You see, the Bible does that often, especially in the book of Revelation. It starts showing you the end result of something, and then it shows you how it got to that result. That's chapter 13, chapter 14, chapter 15, chapter 17, chapter 19 does that. There's a rhythm to the book of Revelation. Remember? 7 churches, 7 seals, 7 trumpets. There's a rhythm to it. And once you pick up the rhythm and you understand the prophets, it starts to become very clear. Okay? But let's read Jeremiah chapter 23. Watch this very carefully. Jeremiah chapter 23, brethren. Watch very carefully. And to answer your question, Jacob, no, I'm not sure if Moabites are Asians. Moabites come from Lot. Lot is not an Asian. Lot is a Semite from the seed of Abraham. Lot is a Semite from the seed of Abraham. And so that's where the Moabites came from. So Moabites are not Asians. Moabites are actually Semites. Okay. Remember, Lot had 2 children by his daughters. One was the nation that came, Ammon. The other one was Moab. That's their origin. So Lot is a Semite, and the Moabites and the Ammonites are Semites. They're Semites. Okay. Arab Semites now, but Semites. Right. So no, they're not Asians. Asians, by and large, are Yafet. Okay. They come from the Yafet. All right. So now, Jeremiah chapter 23, I'm going to begin at verse 5. I'm going to read from verse 5 down to verse 8. Watch very carefully. And many people, they don't mean to, but they skip over this, they read this too quickly. And they're not paying attention to the very important detail here. Watch this. Now, we've already got 2 witnesses that said that we are scattered. We're already witnessing in ourselves that we know we're scattered. Okay? That I don't have to prove. Everybody that's Israelite understands we're scattered. We're not together. Okay, there's bits and pieces of us all over the earth. The awakening is happening that way. We're awakening in different parts. If you do a survey, like one time somebody on Facebook did a survey where they said, "Where's everybody from?" and some people was coming from all over the place, man, coming from Europe and coming from Africa and coming from all the nations of the United States. There's different people, and they were only like 1 here, 2 here, 3 here, very few, together. But that's how we are. We're scattered. And that's predicted by the Bible. Okay? That's important to understand as we talk about where we're going. Okay? So let's read this from verse 5 of Jeremiah chapter 23 to verse 8. Watch carefully. I hope you got your Bible. Watch carefully. Behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. In his days, Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely. And this is his name, whereby he shall be called, the Lord our righteousness. And you notice it's in big letters. The Lord our righteousness, which is Yahweh Sadak, which means Yahweh's righteousness. That's Messiah. See, he's the one, that's the king that's going to reign and prosper. He's going to represent Yahweh's righteousness. And that's what he does for us. When he was born of a woman, his name was called Emmanuel, being Yah with us, and Yahweh or Jesus. Why? Because he was saving his people from their sins. But when they're in the kingdom, he's no longer Jesus. He is going to be Yahweh's righteousness. Because by that righteousness is how we're getting into the kingdom. Remember, they were saved by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. Okay? Now let's continue reading. Watch verse 7 and 8. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh. Watch this. That they shall no more say, Yahweh liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. They shall no more say, Yahweh liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. What they gonna say? Verse 8. But Yahweh liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country and from all the countries whither I had driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. So when Messiah comes, we're going to come from the four corners of the earth, and he's going to bring us to our own land when Messiah comes. So that being the case, up until that time, we're scattered. The 144,000 is scattered. The nation of Israel is scattered. Let me bring up another point. Let me go to Revelation chapter 13. And there's a talk about an image to the beast, right? Revelation 13, I'm sure you've read it. Revelation chapter 13, let's go there. Revelation chapter 13, talking about the beast that rises up out of the earth that has two horns like a lamb, but speaks as a dragon. This is the United States of America. The two horns, the lamb is always representing Messiah. So this is a nation that claims to represent Messiah, but is really a devil. It's really run by Satan. That is certainly the United States of America, which claims to be a Christian nation. Christianity, of course, does not properly represent the Messiah, but it's a deception, which is what the devil is, a deceiver. Okay, but let's take a look at it. Revelation chapter 13. I'm going to read from verse 11 down to verse 15. Actually, from 11 down to verse, I'm going to read from 11 down to verse 17. Watch this, especially verse 17. Please pay attention. We're understanding what we've already read. Okay. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. That's the United States of America. Okay. And he, that is the United States of America, exercises all the power of the first beast before him. The first beast before him, a beast or a nation or a power that existed before the United States that had worldwide power, papal Rome. That's the seven-headed beast that it speaks about earlier in the chapter that has 10 horns and crowns on his horns. That's papal Rome. Okay. Exercises all the power of papal Rome before him. Now, when you look at this up in the Greek, when it says before him, it's in the sight of, it's under the supervision of. In other words, Rome is controlling the United States. The United States is doing the bidding of Rome. They're in bed with the whore, and they're being controlled by the whore. Okay? And he doeth great wonders. Wait. He exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. The United States pushes what? Christianity. Christianity is an homage to who? Papal Rome. Causes the earth and them which worship therein to worship the first beast. That is Papal Rome. Does not the Pope come to the White House? Does not the president bow to him? When he comes to the White House, he not only goes to the White House, he has masses in places like Yankee Stadium and FedEx Field, and then he goes to the UN, because not only is he head of his church, 1 billion member Roman Catholic Church, but he's also the head of his state. So he goes to the UN as the head of his state, he goes to the White House as the head of his state, and he goes to Yankee Stadium and FedEx Field as the head of his church. There's no other person that has that kind of power on the planet. And the dragon gives him his power, seat, and great authority. And this nation says, and it causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast. Okay? Now let's continue. Watch this now. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. That's the ability to drop bombs. Why is everybody scared of the United States? Because of their ability to drop bombs. In case we forget, there's only one nation in the history of the world that has ever dropped a nuclear weapon. Only one. And they did it twice. Who is that? The United States of America. The only nation to drop totally destructive nuclear weapons on men, women, and children. The only one to do it. And is now been dropping drones on innocent men, women, and children in all the Middle Eastern nations. That's what's been going on. You know who one of the biggest drone droppers was in history? President Barack Obama. I can't tell you how many men and women and children he has killed with his drone strikes. That's the fire. And that's why all the nations are scared of us, because we have already shown we got the gonads to drop nuclear weapons on you. Nobody else has done it. Because you have to have a certain amount of inhumanity to be able to put that type of destruction on somebody. Okay? Okay, let's continue. Verse 14, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had a wound by a sword and did live, an image to Rome. An image to Rome. Let's talk about Rome again. Rome is led by one man that's the head of his church and the head of his state. It's a religious power headed by one man that's also a government. What is going on in America right now? There is movements underfoot which are in advanced stages where church and state are united under the United States. 9 Supreme Court judges, the most powerful court in the United States, who is the most powerful nation on earth. 6 of those judges are Roman Catholic. Always. 6 of those 9 Roman Catholic. And the other 3, Ashkenazis, Khazars. See, they got the whole earth looking conservative and Democrat while Rome is just taking over. Just taking over. They got their agents in every major place, either as an Ashkenazi or as a Roman Catholic trained Jesuit. In governorships, in the Senate, in the House, in Congress, and they got it all over the place, man. People are not paying attention. The media, look at your media. Sean Hannity, Fox News. Fox News is one of the most popular. You may not agree with what they say, but they're one of the most popular channels in television. Sean Hannity, one of the most popular people on there, Roman Catholic. Bill O'Reilly, when he was on there, Roman Catholic. MSNBC, their prime competitor. Morning Joe, Mika Brzezinski, Roman Catholic. Joe Scarborough, Roman Catholic. Who does Meet the Press? Chuck Todd, Ashkenazi. Before Chuck Todd, there was another boy. I forgot his name. David Gregory, Ashkenazi. Before David Gregory, there was another man, Bill Russert, somebody named Russert. He was on there a long time, Roman Catholic. Matter of fact, he died of a heart attack right after he had a personal visit with the Pope in Rome. He came right from Rome and died of a heart attack when he got back. See, this is no coincidence. People are just not paying attention because it's in plain sight and they're taking over right in front of you. That's why I call it deception. Okay, let's continue reading. And let's take a look at verse 15. Watch this. And he had power, that is the government of the United States, had power to give life to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Brothers and sisters, this thing is about worship. Don't think it's about some daggone RFID chip. It is not. They can follow you by your cell phone. They don't need a chip in you to find out where you are or what you're doing or what your favorite things are. Don't you know when you go into Facebook or you go on anything and you look something up? I go to Amazon and go look up something. All of a sudden I go on my email. If I looked up socks, all of a sudden they be advertising socks in my email. All of a sudden on my Facebook page, there'll be socks. Because they already know everything about me. And you too. They don't need a chip to do that. This is about worship. The main thing y'all had with us while we went into captivity and are scattered all over the earth, the main problem he had with us was what? We worshiped other gods. We worshiped other gods. Christianity is another god. Islam is another god. Yah is a different God from them. The first commandment say, I'm the Most High, the Lord thy God, that brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. That's the Israelites. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. And he continues saying that all through almost every chapter. Almost every chapter in Deuteronomy says, don't worship any other God. And yet that's what our fathers did. And that's what's going on here. How is he getting you to worship other God? You in Christianity, you worshiping a different God. You in Islam, you worshiping a different God. The Most High never chose, all due respect, he never chose any Arab prophet. All his prophets are Israelite prophets ever since Abraham. Prior to Abraham, you had Noah, and you had prophets that were Noah, Seth, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech. You had prophets prior to the flood that were not Israelite because there was no Israelite existing. And yet the Bible says he made room for the nation of Israel from the foundation of the earth. So he knew he was going to have a nation of chosen people from Abraham. From Abraham on, all his prophets, Hebrew Israelites. That's what's going to be. That's what it's going to be. All his true teachers of his word, Hebrew Israelites. Men, not women, not Caucasians, Hebrew Israelite. Men. That's all his prophets. Now, you're going to have women that are going to have the gift of prophecy. Deborah, right? You have prophets like that. Gift of prophecy. But generally speaking, in the Bible, if you notice, whenever there's a woman prophet, it's because there's no man. Because they're in such apostasy, there's no man. As a situation we have right now, you have a lot of women that feel like they got to be teachers of the Bible because there's no man willing to stand up for the truth. But we're awakening now. The nation is being awakened. And it's about the brothers. And the wise sisters will understand that. And don't try to compete with them. So this is about worship. Worshiping of false gods. Okay? Watch this. And if you don't worship the image, you're going to be killed. In other words, if you're not in the right church, the right religion, the right organization, which is meaning one of the big three. What is the big three? What they call so-called Abrahamic religions, which is really not Abraham. The big three. What is that? Islam, Christianity, right? And Judaism. All three man-made. You can be in one of those. You're going to escape. You're going to be delivered from Rome because you're in. You can do Buddhism if you want to. Hindu, they don't care. They'll control that too. But the big three, Islam, Judaism, Christianity. Okay? Everybody knows that. All right, so now wait. If you're not in these, you might be in a cult. You might be put on a list of cults of dangerous and violent people. Especially, see, anytime in the United States of America, and again, I don't got to prove this to most of y'all. We're seeing black men get shot in the street now on a regular basis. So I ain't got to show you that anytime a group of black men gets together and decides to form anything, they're being watched with their possible death being involved. Okay, that's anytime. And we're talking about an Israelite awakening of black males, led by black males. Talk to me now. You already know what's coming. We're going to be the cult, the dangerous, violent cult. We're not going to be in any of these established churches with these false gods. That's going to put a mark on us. No pun intended. Let's continue. Watch this now. Verse 16 and 17. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Watch this now. That no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Let's think about this for a second. Think for a second, brothers and sisters. You're going to be in a situation where if you're not in the right worship style, you're going to be prohibited from buying anything or selling anything. What does that mean? You can't pay your rent. Your bank account will be frozen. You won't get Social Security if you were getting it. Any government benefits will go away. Okay? If you have a mortgage, you can't pay it. You can't pay. And if you think because your house or your property is paid off, you save. No, you still got to pay property taxes. And if you can't pay the property taxes, guess what? They take your property. So you're going to be in a situation where you can't buy or sell. You will not be able to own anything or sell anything. What's going to happen at that point? You will be forced to leave your home. So let's think about this. We're scattered. We're a scattered people. The time's going to come when we're awakened in our scattered state. Remember, we come back together once Messiah comes. Prior to that, there's a time of trouble. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So in our scattered state, we are awakening. We come to the truth and we stand firm. See, that's why many of y'all are wondering, why is it I'm so lonely? I don't have any fellowship. I only could get on YouTube or whatever. Most High has it like that because you have to learn to stand for yourself. You have to have a love for your Father that causes you to stand, though you're all by yourself. Your family might be against you. Your friends, your former brethren from your former churches are going to be against you. They're going to be pointing you out, but you got to stand firm for the truth. What you think? You're going to enter into the gates of the New Jerusalem where the John the Baptist that stood firm against the Edomite Herod and was beheaded? You think you're going to eat next to him, having not stood for anything? What you think? You're going to stand firm, and you're not going to stand firm, and you're going to go into with the apostle Shaul or Paul, who was beheaded? You really think that? Or like Jeremiah, who stood by himself against the whole nation of Israel? Or Elijah, who stood on Mount Carmel against 400 prophets of Baal, intent on killing him? And you think you're not going to have to stand against everything that's against you by yourself? No. I got another thought for you. You better be ready. You better know what you believe in. You better stand for the truth, brother, because all of us are going to have to stand for ourselves. There's no question. And that's why he has us scattered. We can't be afraid. Perfect love casts out fear. Love for your Father, love for his righteousness, brothers and sisters, causes us to stand through anything. And they love not their lives unto the death. It's coming down to that, It's coming down to that. You're not going to be able to buy or sell. Therefore, you might be in New York. You might be in Chicago. You might be in Ghana. You might be in Uganda. You might be in Sudan. And you won't be able to buy or sell. You think you're going to have land? Whatever government is there is going to take it. You're going to have to leave from where you are because you won't be able to stay there because they're going to take all your stuff and they're going to hate you and they're going to want to kill you. And you're going to have to go with 2 or 3 brethren or 2 or 3 families who are, the Most High is already doing it, getting 2 or 3 together in different places that you're experiencing. You're already experiencing it. The 2 or 3 families that are in this truth, some of you talk to them online or by the phone, we try to encourage each other. You're going to end up fleeing with them. You're going to end up fleeing with them into jungles, deserts, mountains. But don't worry. The Most High has promised to protect us. Look, Revelation chapter 12. Revelation chapter 12. I'm going to start at verse 13 and go down to verse 17. Revelation chapter 12 from 13 to 17. We're going to go a little longer than usual today because, again, we're talking about Edom, Moab, and Ammon. I'm just giving you this backdrop so you understand what's coming. And so you can do your best to be ahead of the game. That's why Messiah always said, behold, I have told you before. He said, what did he say? Surely the Most High Yah will do nothing, but he revealeth his secrets to his servants, the prophets. He always showed us. He said, behold, I have told you before because you're my friends. He told us that. He told our fathers that. And so he wants us to be prepared. And understanding prophecy, being in harmony with prophecy, helps you be prepared. So again, let's take a look. Give you a couple of witnesses. First, Revelation chapter 12. Let's read from verse 13 to verse 17. Watch. And when the dragon saw that he was cast into the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man child. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a times and a half from the face of the serpent. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. Let's break this down. So we're scattered. We have to flee. This situation has taken place before. in the days of what's called the Middle Ages or the Dark Ages. Okay, listen. During that time, that was over 1,000 years of papal rule over the then known earth, which was basically Europe, Africa, Middle East, India, Asia. Papal rule over all of those areas. They had what they call crusades. What's a crusade? That's when they start to spread their religion on pain of death. In other words, if you didn't convert to Catholicism or Christianity, they would kill you. They did it to the Indians. They did it to the Africans. They did it to the East Indians and the West Indians, and they did it to the Africans, and they did it to any place they went. If you didn't convert, they would kill you. So what did people do? In order to maintain or preserve their freedom of choice and religion, they would flee to the mountains or flee to the woods or flee to different places. That's why you have places in Europe called the Huguenots or the Waldensians. They fled into the Italian Alps, into the Swiss Alps. They fled into wilderness places and established communities in these wilderness to protect themselves from Roman Catholic oppression and aggression. And many times they were caught in those places and killed. Indians would flee into wilderness places from the Caucasian man, and he would catch them and kill their babies and kill their children and destroy their whole community. This is what happened, but these are not examples of them being protected, but this is an example of how the flood came after them. With Islam, Islam did the same thing. Muhammad went into all these nations, and they still do it. They call it radical Islam now, but they still go into nations, and if you don't convert, they will kill you. They call everybody that's not a Muslim an infidel, and they will kill you. And what happened during the time our fathers went into the nation, the continent that they now call Africa? They would have to flee into different places. The Limbas went, the Igbos went. They went into different places. They were in the kingdom that was called Mali, the kingdom that was called Ghana. They were in different kingdoms. They were in Kush, in Ethiopia, trying to flee. To this day, the people that are bloodline to Solomon that are in Ethiopia, Ethiopian will tell you, they live in the mountains from this fleeing from the Muslims. Because they went out like a flood. Flood water represents people, nations, and tongues. Revelation 17, verse 15. So at that time, Asatan's going to send out armies and groups and armed people and to come and try to find us and kill us. But because the Most High is leading us in the wilderness like he led our fathers, they will not find us. But we won't have nothing to be provided with but bread and water. Let me show you. Isaiah chapter 30. I'm going to show you a couple of witnesses to that. Isaiah chapter 30, my first one. Isaiah chapter 30. Let's see. All right. Is it Isaiah 30 I want? Man, I can't find it when I want. Hold on. Let me find it. I know I'm in the area, so let me find it. Hang on a second. I'm going to find it. Give me a second. Sometimes I turn to my concordance. Hang on 1 second. It won't take me but a second. Me and this concordance been through a lot together. Here it is. Isaiah 29, verse 7. Yep, there it is. No, that's not it. That's not what I want. Hold on. No, that's not what I want. I want 29, 7. No. Hold on. Let me go back. Bear with me, brethren. I'm going to find it in a second. Hold on 1 second. I got to get this scripture. I'm kind of stubborn like that, but I got to get the scripture. Yes, it's Isaiah 33:16. That's what I want. Isaiah 33:16. The next one, all of y'all should know. The next witness. What's the next witness? Is Deuteronomy chapter 8, right? Deuteronomy chapter 8. Watch this. That's the easy one. Deuteronomy chapter 8. This is a story of our fathers. Notice again, Deuteronomy chapter 8. I'm going to read from verse 1. down to verse 6, from 1 to 6. Deuteronomy chapter 8, 1 to 6. Again, second witness of how we'll be sustained when we are fleeing from the four corners of the earth and they're trying to kill us. How we'll be sustained. Notice. All the commandments, verse 1, all the commandments which I command thee this day ye shall observe to do, that ye may live and multiply and go in and possess the land which Yahweh sware unto your fathers. And thou shalt remember all the way which Yahweh thy most high led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee and to prove thee, to know what was in thine heart, whether thou would keep his commandments or no. And he humbled thee and suffered thee to hunger and fed thee with manna, which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doth not live by bread only, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Yahweh doth man live. Watch this now. Thy raiment waxed not old upon thee, neither did thy foot swell these 40 years. Thou shalt also consider in thy heart that as a man chasteneth his son, so Yahweh thy most high chasteneth thee. Therefore thou shalt keep the commandments of Yahweh thy most high, to walk in his ways and to fear him. So when we're fleeing, Yah's going to use that time to cause us to, we're going to cast off all the remnant of Babylon that we have within